How are you? I'm here with a promised tutorial on how I did my boho beads. These are the beads. Sorry, I hit the lamp. These two were from a collab I was in. It was the it was the Pinterest collab. I'm sorry, where I had done a photo. I saw a photograph with purples and greens, and that's how I made those. And then on the live with Mars and Kathy on Kathy's channel last Wednesday, I made this one in turquoise color fun fur and these agate beads and crystals and things, and I put a little dangle on it. Now I have still not attached a top what do you call it, clasp or something, because I don't know what I'm going to put these on just yet. And then I made a little bit smaller one. And then I was looking around for this tutorial and I found this. I think I showed this in a different video. This pirouette yarn, I guess it's called or considered, but it's Sienna Sparkle it's called. I have no idea where I got this at this point. But I thought the colors in this and the sequins would be really cool. Now the thing is, I actually have in my mind I want to make some earrings, and I'm going to use this. I have these two pieces of straw left. For this tutorial, I'm going to use this one, which is about the same size as the one I used for the smaller, because I think those other ones are too long. Yeah, this is about the same size as this one, and it's still pretty big. But this one I think I'm going to cut in half, and hopefully that'll be a nice size to use as an earring dangle with some other little beads hanging off of it. So but I'm not going to do that for the tutorial, because I pulled out, I don't know if you see all these little boxes, I pulled out a ton of beads, and I don't need that many for just one of these. Now I can see already this ribbon is frayed a little, this yarn frays a little bit because it is yarn. Oh, and it opens really wide. I was thinking I would just glue it down like this, how it's doubled over, as opposed to opening it. But now, I don't know. I may wrap it around open a few times. We shall see. And I pulled out some copper colored wire. This is 20 gauge to go through the straw, and I didn't have enough of those little turquoise beads, so I did find in my jewelry business stash 100 grams of vintage seed bead pearls in off-white. They were 10-0 beads. They almost look like 8-0s to me, but they're a little, so they're not really very big. We'll see if they work. They were $1.25 for 100 grams on sale at Shipwreck Beads at one time in 2016, and I have not used them yet. So anyway, all right, so for the tutorial, I'm gonna, let's see how big we need this to be. We don't need a whole lot on either end. About that much is plenty. This is the heavier wire, and you can do this a lot of different ways. I was watching some other videos and people have used balloon sticks, which they said they got at Walmart. I can't find them at Walmart. I was in Walmart yesterday looking. Didn't find them. You know, the things they attach balloons to. Maybe they're somewhere. I just didn't see them. Anyway, and then I saw other people using dowels and cutting the dowel, but the thing with that is you can't put wire through, and then I didn't like the way it finished, so I'm gonna stick with plastic straws. And apparently there are smoothie straws. Oh, and I also saw somebody take a pen, like I don't think I have any like they were using, but it was like a softer plastic, maybe like this kind, and cutting, you know, not the round part on there. Obviously they took the ink out first, and then cutting the pen tube up, which would be a little sturdier, but I'm not gonna, unless the pen's empty and can't be refilled, I'm not gonna do that. So I had these straws in my kitchen. I'm gonna stick with the straws. I like this method the best, I think, after watching lots of them. So I'm going to do a top loop first. And how I do that is I take my wire. These are my chain nose pliers. They're not flat nose. Flat nose comes down to a square on the end, like it's flat. These are rounded on the top and flat in the middle. And I use them all the time, chain nose pliers. And I just bend it over the top. You could do it with the round nose, but I don't find that I get as good a curve there with it. I don't know. I'm going to go with a fairly big loop because I don't know what I'm putting on this. So I'm going about 1/3 of the way down the pliers, if you can see that. And then I'm just going to bring the wire back up over the top, turn my hand so I'm looking down at the plier, and then pulling this part around. The object here is to have something that looks like a lollipop, so that this wire goes down from the middle, this one goes straight across, and there you have a lollipop. Can you see that? I know the glare, I'm sorry. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and close that up. This is going to be our top loop. And my hands are not as strong as they used to be. I like to get really tight wraps around here, wire wraps. These are called bent nose pliers. I use them all the time too as a second pair of like chain nose. And so, and you can get really expensive pliers if you want to, but if you're just starting, I don't suggest it. If you're just starting, you might want to get like an all-in-one jewelry plier. And my preference is to wrap 3 times around. You can do 2 or 3, either one is fine. In jewelry, you don't really want to go much more than that unless that's part of your design, because you'll use up a lot of space with just the wire, and it detracts from the way the beads look sometimes. And then, I don't know if you can see it, but this has a little, I'll call it like a spur. If you run your finger over that, you can feel it, and that will catch on things. So I have learned you have to try and push that in. Now sometimes it's easier to push it in when there's a bead next to it. I got it pretty good though. So now we have to figure out our beads. Now I also watched somebody else, and they did all this going around the straw first before they put it on, but I kind of put the beads on, and either way is probably fine. I do the beading, the top beading first, and as Marlene said last week, you don't have to have it the same on the bottom and the top. I thought these sort of rose gold copper things went good with it, so I have some bead caps here. I'm going to give it a try and see how it looks. Oh, and that's the other thing. Some people were using bead caps over the end and then putting their beads, but I like the bead caps on the bead. And I think the, I don't know if they'll work with this though. Let me see. Yeah, it looks kind of cool. I could put another one on. How they had it like this instead of over the bead. I'm going to try it and put the straw on and see. I'm going to go the other way because I think it looks nicer on the bead, and then go down, and that fits in the straw pretty nice too that way. I think that looks kind of cool. These beads are really awesome. They're like color changing. They've got purple and gold and copper and a little bit of blue and green. I really just like the way they look, and see when you get it up close to this, it almost looks like that peachy color. So they're really awesome. Those were from in a bargain bead box kit as well. So now let's get our, I hope everybody's with me so far. I'm not real good at doing tutorials. So we just did a wire wrap loop, snipped off the part, and then we just have 2 beads at the top with some bead caps, and I put the bead cap facing against the tube. Now we're going to do our filler, and like I said before, use whatever the cheapest beads you have are. I was thinking, you know, go to Dollar Tree and get their seed beads from Dollar Tree. They have some like 8/0 beads in. 8/0 would be bigger than these 10/0s and probably would work better. This is not cooperating with me. It's sticking to me. Because these are a little bit too small, I think. I don't know that they're going to fill good enough. I might have 3 little of these blue ones that were sitting here. Actually, they were all over my floor, so I found them and put them on my next to my cup, and I'm going to use a few of those in with these to help with the stability. Remember, this is just to keep the straw from jiggle wiggling around all over the place. And I was thinking too, you could probably just roll skinny paper beads and stick them in there. You know, people, I can make paper beads sometime for you or with you too. They're fun to make, but you wouldn't want to be real thick with them because they'd have to fit down the straw. Or you could just make paper beads and wrap around the paper beads. That would be another idea. So there's really no right or wrong with these. You just want them to last. So, and you don't want your straw to be scrunching up on you, you know, and then your beady thing would be all indented. I'm going to put another one of the blue. These are imitation turquoise, not real turquoise, so they're not real expensive, and I don't have many of them left, so we're going to just use them, the 3 I found on the floor from last week's project. I have to be really careful because my cat, I caught her. I don't think she usually gets up on the desk too much, but last Saturday, I think it was, she got up on my jewelry making desk and it is covered in stuff. I'm like, and luckily I was up here and I said no, and I got her off. But yeah, she's getting more exploratory. She's exploring more. And then this morning early, like 3 a.m. something, I have this little landing area off my living room, and we have a kitty door going through the main door. Okay, so that's filled up. The last white bead, I don't know if you can see it, is just below the top part. Can you see it there? Oops, under there. You don't want it protruding out the top. And then I'm going to put the bead cap upside down so that it's going down into the straw as well. A little bit. And once I get the beads on there and tighten it up, it'll be fine. So that's where we are so far. I'm going to put another one of these pretty beads on. I'm going to do it with symmetry. I'm not sure I'm loving these bead caps with these other fancy beads, but it's okay. It'll all work out. If I can get this on. Sorry, my hands are a mess too. And then just one of these. So far, anyway, I started to tell about the cat. 3 a.m. Yeah, this morning I woke up to my cat hissing and meowing, really, you know, that meow kind of meow. She was on her little landing. Something was outside, and I have an infrared camera, so I'm going to go see if I, at some point here today, if I captured something. I'm guessing it was a fox, because we do have those around. Because something was right up against the glass. There's sliding doors in that little landing. Was at her. I'm not sure I'm liking the way that that's sitting. I might have one too many beads in there. How's that? Pretty cool? You can see the blue through. Yeah, it looks a little weird, but we're going to cover it up. Alright, so now you want, this is where I like to use my chain nose. You pull your wire and push against that final bead so that everything is tight. You want this to be snug into that straw, and then bend over And I find that if I use the tip of my chain nose pliers there and bend over that above the bead and bend right over them, that gives me almost a perfect 3 wrap, wire wrap. But every plier is not created equal, so you'll have to experiment. And we'll do about the same size loop as the top. And see, it's come loose a little bit again, so I'm bringing this back over, turn my hand, pull this around so we have what looks like our lollipop again. See, that's loose. And that area there will give me about 3 wraps. I don't know if you can see that with the glare. It's a little blurry. Come on, focus. There maybe. Okay. So that's kind of the hardest part, is going to be this wire wrap. So again, I'm holding that whole loop with my bent nose pliers. I'm taking the tip of my round nose, my chain nose, and I'm pulling and I let go and grab it again, because otherwise you end up with a whole, this gets wrapped too if you don't let go and then start again. So we've got 2 wraps. Oops, get a hold of it, Deb. And there's the 3rd. So can you see there's 3 wraps on there? There we go. Maybe we had it. Come on, why won't it focus? Anyway, I think you can see the 3 wraps. Then you take your flush cutters. The flat side is the flush. You want that towards your work. And you're going to cut in as close as you can get. And then I can feel there is a little tail there somewhere. There. And I just have to take I usually like to use my bent nose pliers, but you can use your chain nose, anything or anything that you can use to get in there. I do not suggest using round nose, because sometimes that makes your wire go bendy. And just squish that tail in so that when you run your finger over that, nope, I still feel a little bit. You don't want it snagging on anything, because if you would put this on a necklace, for example, and people would wear it against a sweater or a top, you don't want it snagging their clothing. Or your skin, for that matter, if you wear it against bare skin. So there is the beginning of our boho bead. I love these beads. I think they're so cool. Okay, now what I did on the other ones is I wrapped this in a ribbon first. But I think I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to go around multiple times, and I think I am going to see if I open it up, I can't glue it as well. So I think I'm going to try and do it with it doubled over. Now let me get my finger and get my pliers out of the way of the heat gun. I mean, not the heat gun, the this thing. This is a low temp. I don't know. I have one with a skinnier nozzly thing, but this one hasn't completely broken yet, so I'm kind of waiting. All right, I'm just gonna put, now if you're gonna sell these, you probably ought to use a different glue, but you know what, they're going to be wire wrapped anyway, so I don't know that it really matters. This is just really to hold the ribbon down till we get it wrapping, because we're going to wrap, well, I do anyway, I wrap wire over the whole thing. See, I held it down with the wrong finger. There we go, it's sticking to me, so that should be all right. Let me just put a little more over here and push this down. Okay, and then, oops, yep, let that take hold real good. And then we are just going to wrap. And we're going to go down the bead, roll it down, and we have the sequins on the outside. Trying to get it to, the straw is rolling a little bit. It's not tight enough. I'm going to wrap my way back up because it looks thicker to me there, and I want those little pom-poms sticking out and those sequins there. And there we go. Now I just have to cut this and glue it, and I think that's enough. So cool. Now we might want to put more down here, but I don't want to go down again to do it. Let me get my ribbon scissors. Ribbon and textile scissors, I guess I should call them. Cut this off and get that out of the way. And get my finger thing on again. And let's just carefully wrap that around and glue that down. And hopefully that'll stay. Now I was watching somebody and they were using bits of ribbon, like sari ribbon, and they were using Fabri-Tac, which might be a good thing to use as well. I think I have a bottle of fabric glue. I don't know if it's Fabri-Tac, but it's not open yet, so I'm using what I have open. So we already have some bling on there. I do feel like something's missing down here at the bottom. Maybe do I want just another bit, but then I have too much of that color. Let's see. I think I'm going to let it. I'm going to wrap wire and I'll fill that with wire. So I have this mangled up mess of copper colored wire. It's thinner. It's probably, I think, 24 gauge. I probably had started to use it for a project and the project didn't work out, and I saved it and it's a mess, but it'll work for this, so I'm gonna just use it. But I'm gonna try and get it as I'm just using my fingers to smooth out some of the wrinkles, and I'm pushing it through the tangle to try not to bend it anymore, and trying to untangle it a bit. There we go. It's actually 2 pieces. That's even better. Alright, so now you can use, they have nylon nose pliers, like chain nose or flat nose pliers that are nylon nose, but I'm not going to bother. My fingers straighten it out pretty well. Okay, so now you take this wire and you have to anchor it somewhere. So I don't want to anchor it up here because I don't want to detract from that, but this does feel a little loose to me. So I'm actually going to go above the straw, in between the bead cap and the straw, and try and push that in there as tight as I can get it. That little piece, if I can see it. And then I'm going to wrap it around a couple times. It's over here. Now let me wrap it around a couple times first. There it is. I got it with my finger. Right there, which you can't see, I know, but I can feel it. And I'm going to go around about 3 times. Now, in the other video, I don't think I had a bead cap on. Oops, now see, it just came off. Let me cut that. I may have to anchor it above the bead cap and go down. Maybe under here would be better. Between the bead and the bead cap. Let me get these and pull it. So we're going to try that instead to anchor it. The problem is the wire is twisting. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to try and wrap it a few times, and this is a little bit tricky too because there's not a whole lot of space in between the bead and the bead cap, and I'm just going to go twice around this time, I think. Straighten it out a little bit, and then I'm going to start going down, and this is in the opposite direction. And you can put beads on here if you want to. You don't have to. And I'm not even going to go into that bead because that little puffy stuff is up. And then I'm going to go down the opposite way. I think I'm not going to put beads on it actually. And then I'm going to go back down the opposite because this has sequins on. And I don't know that I want to detract from the sequins. I'm going to wrap around here a couple times because I'm going to go back up and go a couple times in the bare spots. And then we're going to end it off up here where we started actually on this one. Now you can end it on the other end if you want, but that's just how this piece of wire worked out. So, and then we're going to push that in, pull it around as tight as you can. Take your nose or your pliers in there and get that tucked in. And that is not the best job I ever did. It's hard to see sometimes with the glare. Yeah, see, it's popping out. So I'm not happy with that actually. I'm going to put you on pause and try and figure that out and fix it so I can see it closer. Be right back. Okay guys, that actually is tucked in pretty well now. I had to finagle with a little bit. There's a little bit here still. I'm just going to push that down. Okay. Now, so there is our bead as it stands. And this will be the bottom because it has this little fringy down. It's sort of hiding that one bead, and I'm not crazy about that. And I feel like I do need some beads or something around here. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. So I do have these little beads I could wrap around there. So in other words, I could put another piece of wire if I can unmangle it. And put some beads up there, but I think I'm going to concentrate for now on oh, I know what we'll do. I had picked out, and I was going to show you, you could use anything including buttons. You can glue on, you know, some flat back pearls. They'd probably glue better onto the fabric. Little tiny seed beads you could use. You could put a button on here. Maybe I'll do that. I'll put a button or two on there. I was thinking originally of putting the button on the end of the tube like this and having the wire go down through, and I may still try that sometime. And you could, or you could put more sequins on. And there are some sequins sticking out through here, see? I don't know if I'm feeling any of these right now, actually. If I do anything, I think it would be beads, but that's just me. Let me see if I want to do that. I might. Because this one will not be an earring. It's far too long. But it's a pretty neutral color. And that's really how you do that. Now, let's see. I don't think I'm going to wrap it in beads. I think I'll make some bead dangles, however. To put at the bottom. This is going to be our bottom, and I have these sort of bronzy brown pearls, so I might use some of those. And I also have these, which I think will go, and these were from a yard sale. I think I mentioned that, but I don't think I'll use them. I think I'm going to use these three and maybe some of these copper beads here. And we'll just do a dangle. And I'll probably just do one on the tutorial, and then you'll see. Probably what I'll do is hang a jump ring off of here. 1 second. Oops. I have this container that has 3 colors, and it's got jump rings and some clasps and things in it, and I think these are pretty big, but that might work. We're going to try that. Hang on, I have to move something else on the floor that was in the way. So yeah, let's get our pliers and open that up first. And it's really hard sometimes to see where the opening is on these, but it looks to me like it's right here. You want it to be at 12 o'clock. Hold it 2 ways and pull towards you. I almost had a heart attack the other day. I was watching somebody do one of these, and she took her pliers like this and yanked it apart. No, 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 no. It makes it really hard to get it back together, guys. So let's see if I can show. Taking your pliers, and now you're going to walk it back. Now that actually snapped, so you could stop. When you hear that click, it's closed. But I like to usually, well, that one is closed, but you usually go back and forth till you hear that click. Make sure it's tight closed all the way. There, it just did again. Okay, so, and then I just give it a little squish. And sometimes if it looks uneven this way, I will do a little smush that way, but there's our jump ring. And now I'll wrap bead dangles onto the jump ring. Actually, I might just take it off and I'll make the bead dangles first. So let's make bead dangles. Usually for bead dangles, I take about 3 inches off. It depends on your beads. You may need more if you use really big beads. You may need less if you use really small beads, you know. And if you have head pins, you can use those. And actually, since I'm using wire, a couple things you can do. I don't want to use those pliers. I want to use my chain nose. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. I'm going to make my own head pin, and what I'm going to do is take the very tip of the wire and the very tip of my pliers and give it a bend, and you have this little hook. And then I'm going to take the pliers, put the hook in between, and try and gently but firmly, I'm trying to hold the wire so it doesn't turn, squish. And the object here, which I'm not being very successful at the moment. The object here is to get that to be flush up against itself, but it wants to turn. There we go. I can do it. Nope. Well, almost. Get it down in the jaws there better. There we go. Okay. Can you see that it's I don't know why this is so out of focus. I don't know where I am here. There. It's like a little is not wanting to focus, is it? Anyway, it's like a little hook, but it's closed on the end, and that is like, so the bead won't fall off, right? So now let's put our bead on. And if it goes down, and it just maybe now you'll be able to see it, I don't know. There, except for the glare. There, okay. So it stops the bead. Let's see, let's put a bead cap on. And maybe one of these. One thing I learned is you can do it, but it's probably not a good idea. I can't even see the hole in this. Not a good idea to put metal against metal. So I always like to have a glass bead or something, or a crystal at the top. I don't always do that, but isn't that cute? And then we'll just take our pliers. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to use the tip of the pliers, bend over the top, take them off, get the round nose. These don't have to be quite so big, but they have to be big enough holes to go over the jump ring. So I think about not quite a third down. Then I bring the wire back towards me, turn them, pull this over the plier, and looking down, trying to make sure I have a lollipop. Okay, are you able to see that? If it would focus. Let me try and get that light down. It's still not focusing. Either that or my eyes are really bad. Probably too much stuff on the desk. There, lollipop. I don't know, it's still kind of blurry. Sorry guys, I don't know what's up with this camera. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Hold it with my bent nose. This is, I actually had too much wire. I didn't need that much, so if I have a smaller dangle, I'll use the rest of this for that. And again, this is 20 gauge wire, which is if you can only buy one size wire for making things with, get the 20 gauge. It's a good all-around wire. 18 gauge is a little sturdier, but it's also a little harder to maneuver sometimes. And if you have any trouble with your hands, 18 gauge would be a little harder. But this coated copper wire is pretty soft. That's the other thing. Wires come in soft, like they call it dead soft, and they have medium, and they have hard. Most of the time I work with soft because it can be work hardened, but for my sterling silver ear wires I use a either a medium or a hard temper because I want them to last for ears, you know. And I use 19 gauge, which is really hard to find. The only place I found it is at Rio Grande online, and but that's in sterling. So there's our first bead dangle, and that is just driving me nuts that it's so blurry. I'm pushing the thing down, so hopefully you'll be able to see, but I don't know. And we've got 3 wraps, a little bit crooked. You can play with it up here. Bend it, straighten it a little bit. Not my best wire wrap, but not bad. Okay, and this might be a little too short to use, so I'll just have to remember not to make it quite that long for that number of beads. And you can leave your wire on the spool. Now let's see, what do I want on here? I think I don't want to use these, but I might use a couple of these beads. I like to do 3, either 1 or 3 dangles, but I tend to go with 3s. And so I might use one of these, no bead cap, and one of these. I'm going to probably do about 3 inches again. Let's see. These have a little bit of that coppery stuff on them too. That might be too much. I know what. We'll do this, and then this, and then this. See, that's not going to need more than about that much, and I'll leave that much at the bottom too, because I don't know how I'm going to finish that head pin, if you will. I might do a loopy loop, so that'll be pretty. So I'm not going to bore you with doing all the wire wraps. It's the same process as we did there and there, and then all I'm going to do actually is open this jump ring back up and put these on in the order, and I'll come back and show you that once I have it done. Okay guys, I came back. I decided to show you what I'm doing here. This is the top part of the next charm, and I decided to do a little spiral, but I don't want it to be this big, so I'm going to snip about half of this off, actually a little more than that, because I just want a small little spiral at the end. And I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to grab the very tip the very tip. You kind of don't want to feel the wire through there even, but you have to be able to hold it firm and then bend that wire around. Normally I do the bottoms first, so I don't know what I was thinking. So I'm just making a little loop. I don't know if you can see the little tiny loop or not. It's so out of focus there. Oh, I almost had it there. And then I take my chain nose or your flat nose or whatever pliers, and you put them in there down part way, and you're going to bend this. So what you're going to do is make a coil. So you're going to keep bending it to start this little coil. And it's starting rather slowly for me right now. I'm going to bend the wire. You can see it's starting to coil around. And then I want to pull it tight up against the other part, and it's hard to hold it with the beads already on there. So I'm just trying to coil it. Oops. So I would recommend doing the bottom of your head pin first if you're going to make your own, or you can just buy them. So now it's going. And we're just going to get it up against the bead. Now what I like to do, if I can get in there, is kind of get in and just, I might have to use my round nose actually, which I don't prefer to do, but I'm trying to get right up against the bead. Hard to show you. Right up against that last bead, and then just give it a little bend backwards. And there's our little spiral. Hang on. You see it? So that bead will not go off of there. I have to figure out why this is so blurry. Okay. So that's our second dangle, and I'll make one more and then I'll be back. Alright guys, so I turned autofocus off, and we'll see what that does. Maybe that'll help. This time I found these head pins that I have in my business actually, and they're, that's not the right ones, these. They have a rounded end on the bottom because I didn't want to add length to the head pin, so they just look like that, and they are these copper colored ones or rose gold colored ones. And I just strung on, I have one pearl left in this sort of creamy peachy color, a bead cap, one of these little glass beads, one of the fancy beads, and another one of the glass beads. And I'm just going to go ahead and wire wrap that now, so we'll see what happens, and then we'll put these all on together. Okay, so I'm just going to come back towards me. These are really actually harder than the wire, so they must be at least like a medium temper for these head pins, I think. So we just have a loop. I'm going to grab that with my chain nose, and it's not a very long tail, so it may only be 2 wraps. In fact, let me see. Yeah, I'll try. I'll see if I can get 3 in. I'm going to take the very tippy tip with of my pliers. I think what I have to do from now on is make sure I don't have quite so much stuff out on my actual mat. I am really having to pull this head pin around a lot harder than the wire. So if you are beginning, I definitely recommend softer wire and softer head pins if you can. They don't always tell you, and some of them are steel, which I don't know what these are. Underneath the copper color, they may be steel. And there, I think I got it. Let me make sure I don't have any pokey bit, but I think that's it. And I used it up and didn't have to snip anything off. So there is our long dangle. Let me just straighten that loop out a little bit. Okay, let's open up our jump ring, and which I didn't have closed very tight anyway. I'm actually going to take it off of here. I'm going to put a dangle, and then I'm going to hook it through the bottom here, and then I'm going to put the other dangle on. Hopefully, is that going to be right? Yeah, I think so. Hopefully that'll work, and if not, we'll open it back up and fix it. See, that's really snapping, and you kind of want to run your finger this way, and I sort of give it a squeeze that way. Anyway, there's our no, I did it wrong. I want a small dangle on either side, so I'm just going to open that up, take the last one off. Actually, I'm going to take it off of here, put that through, then put it on. There we go. That should work now. How I had it, one was on the same side and it shouldn't have been. Okay, there we go. There's our 3 dangles. I don't know if I'm real happy with the big one being there, but there we go. Anyway, that's it. And then if you want to put a clasp on, where's that little tray of clasps? Let's see if I have some kind of I don't have a lobster clasp in here, so I would use definitely a lobster clasp at the top, and I don't think I have one out. I don't. To hook it onto something, or like a round book binding thing. It depends on what you're going to hang it on. Now this I would either use as a necklace tassel, hanging off a necklace chain, you know, like off a chain like this. Oops. Move this back a little bit. Have your chain coming down like this and have it here. I think that would be really pretty. Move it back up like that. It would be a long necklace for sure. I would probably more likely use it on the side of a book or a journal, something like that, as a charm tassel. But I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna try and make some earrings. So I'm gonna try if I can cut this straw in half and then try and make smaller ones. So I will do that. When I get them done, I'll show you. Okay, I hope that helped, and if you have any questions, please let me know. And I do apologize if it was fuzzy. I don't have the best camera. I have a webcam, but it might not be the best for tutorials, and obviously my setup is sideways and not straight down, so that hurts too. One day, 1 year, I'll get a better setup, but I have to rearrange the entire room, and I really can't right now. So anyway, that's all for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye for now. Hugs, love, and peace. Hi guys, I just thought I'd come back on and show you the finished earrings with the smaller ones. They're still pretty big and they're puffy, and here's the thing, that yarn does not easily repeat. I had to cut some sections off to get sort of the same colors, and you can see they're still not exactly the same, but I think they're probably close enough. I did not put beads on the wire that I wrapped around them, and I just put one little bead dangle down the bottom. I only put one bead at the bottom, which is almost actually buried under this one. You can sort of see it peeking out there. Crystal, and then I just did a little tiny crystal with a bead cap and a bronzy pearl, and I used those rounded like I think they're called bead shaped head pins to do them. The bottom under this crystal is only a regular loop. It's not a wire wrapped loop like up here, because I actually didn't estimate enough wire. So, and then I found these head pins, these ear wires in my stash. They're sort of a coppery bronze color, and they have a little heart shape. I don't know if you can see that or not there in the front. I just have them, holding them on a pencil because I was checking to see if they were the same length, and they are, which is something you have to watch when you're doing earrings. Like if I have 3 loops, oops, 3 loops up here at the top, I need to make sure I do that on the other one. And if I have just a loop down the bottom, I need to make sure I do that in the same size loop. And then down here on these, I actually ended up with 4 wraps around, and I had to make sure I had 4 wraps around on the other one so that the length comes out as close to the same as you can. Of course, I'm not going to be able to lay them down so they look right, but there we go. So there they are, and then here's the one that I did with the tutorial. So yeah, loads of fun. These are kind of cute, don't you think? I'd wear them. Yeah, I'd wear them. I probably will wear them. They'll probably be mine. So anyway, and then this I think could like make a necklace dangle, which I might do too. Now I might not make the necklace be super duper long, and then just have it dangle sort of in the middle of my chest area kind of thing. But you could put it on a really long chain too. The problem with me doing that is I'll bump into everything with it. So anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. These were done the exact same way, but the piece of straw was probably less than an inch because I ended up cutting a little off even. I'm not sure I'd use this yarn again. I think it looks cool, but I'm kind of liking the way these look a little bit better. So, oops, sorry guys. Yeah, except these are way too long. That one will have to be like a purse charm, probably both of those. Anyway, let me know what you think. Will you be making some? Have I inspired you? Would you wear them as earrings? Let me know. All right, talk to you soon. Hugs, love, and peace.